Hello everyone, Bhavna Gunwani this side. Today in this session, I am going to talk about classes and objects, which are the primarily concepts of object-oriented programming or approach. Basically, there is nothing which can be written outside the class in Java because Java is 100% object-oriented language. It's not pure, it is 100%. Mark my words. I'll let you know what's the difference exactly. So everything needs to be written inside the class, object-oriented approach. Class is a group of objects which have common properties, or we can call as class is a collection of data members and member functions which are associated to the properties of the entity. For example, there is a student. Student is the class, which is the entity, and there are the properties and the attributes associated with it. For example, there are the attributes of the student, student ID, student name, student age, student marks, as well as there are the methods and the behaviors associated to that, accepting the student details, doing certain comparison calculations and computations on those particular methods and the behaviors, and then displaying their details. It's nothing like a blueprint or a user-defined variable that's known as a class. Class can't be physical, and it's a logical entity that represents like an entity in the programs, as a real-time word says. A class in Java can contain fields, methods, constructors, blocks as well. Fields are the attributes, as I told you. Behaviors are the methods. Constructors are the special methods that helps in initializing the data members of the class. We have static blocks and so on to initialize, and certainly creating the thread iterations and the synchronizations with the help of sync blocks as well. We do have nested classes, which is a class inside the class, and interfaces, which are actually do not suggest it to write inside the class. They are like a contract, looks more like a entity or a logical entity. Then we have an object. As I told you, class depicts the object as well. An entity that has a state and behavior is known as an object, like a chair, bike, car, student, employee, supplier. Can be a physical or logical, tangible and intangible. An object can have three characteristics: a state, behavior and identity. What that object is behaving, doing the particular task, identity, to whom that object belongs to, and the state, whether it exists physically or logically. So this is one of the example. There is a vehicle. Vehicle is a class. We have different vehicles: car, truck and cycle. All these are the objects of a class. Similarly, we have an employee is the class, and we have a different kind of employees. We have salaried employee, we have contractual employees. All these are the different objects associated to the employee. So these are so many real-time entities that exist on the relation of classes and objects. Let me tell you practically how these things can be implemented. So let's continue. Hello everyone. So today in this session I will tell you how to create class, instantiate it and access its members from outside the class definition. So let's get started. Here I am creating a class student which has three data members: student ID, student name and student age. These three are the data members of this class. Then I am going to create a member function of a class, that is public void accept details. I'm also going to instantiate my scanner class. that will help me to take user inputs, giving a message, enter username, student ID equals to scanner dot next integer. This is student ID. I should first take the name. Student name, scanner dot next line. Then I will take input for the user ID. Enter user ID. And then I'll take input for the age. Scanner dot next integer. Considering here user is not the entity name itself is student, so we can write an associated one. So this is the data, this is the member function. We also call it as a method that will be representing the behavior of this class. As of now, writing a bare minimum behaviors and going to display the details. Void display details, that is going to display student details. Sys out student ID, sys out student name, and student age. So here my class is ready, which has 3 data members. Scanner, also considered as a data member, becomes a member of a class, instantiating the scanner class to take the user input. And then we have accept and display details, which are the member functions that will be representing the behaviors of this particular class. Now to access their data members, I really need to instantiate a class and access its member from outside the class definition. Here, creating a student instance, accessing the accept details and student display details. So first it will take the 3 informations, ID, name and age, from the user in this method, and then whatever details we have accepted and kept it into the data member, that will be displayed. We can see that it's asking for the name, Karthik Sharma, ID is 1001, age is 23, and that's how the information is displayed. You can see that, guys, I have kept these 3 data members normally, but the moment I kept my member functions, I made them public. Even though I do not make them public, whether we can access it from outside the class definition or not, let's try to understand. So once I'll save this and I try to execute my program once again, Karthik 1001 and 23, I can still access it, because the moment we do not write any access modifier from where the members can be accessed, they are by default type, and default means the class members can be accessible within a particular file or within a particular folder or a package anywhere. Within a folder is just like a package in a layman terms. But when you try to access it from outside the existing folder or outside the package, you need to make them public. I'll come to that stage very soon. But you should not have this question in your mind that why I kept it public. I can simply keep it default and I can access the members from the outside of the class definition. Now next is, as I told you, the moment we create an instance of a class, the memory gets allocated to the data members of a particular class, and member function gets the memory when they are invoked. So as of now, I have one object creation of a class, but I would like to tell you more about it. Guys, most of the people say that this is exactly the creation of object, but this is not complete statement. I should say that this is creating a reference variable and instantiating or creating an object of a class at all together in one statement. Because the moment we write here, for example, student1 equals to new student. So at this stage, this left hand side section is creating a reference variable of a student type, and this is creating an object of a class. So when we are saying that we are just writing this statement, that it means that we are creating a reference variable student1 of type student. But the moment we write this new student, an object is created. So that object we can assign to this reference variable. So this is creating a reference variable student1 of type student. We also call student class as a user defined data type, and into this reference variable we are assigning the object type. So student is not an object name, it's a reference variable name of the student type. But in shorthand of writing this practice, we write as line number 31 says. Now the moment we have student1 dot accept details, student1 dot accept details, you display details, you will see that whenever we create an object of a particular class, the memory gets allocated to the data members of a class. So the moment we created the object at line number 31 for the student reference variable, memory gets allocated to the student ID, name and age, and then we have done with the student1 creating an object of a class. Again, the memory gets allocated to the data members of ID, name and age. So each object has its own reference of the data members. Let me tell you. So this is asking for the first student, Karthik, 101, 23, Gautam, 102, 32. So you can see that each user has its own details. Student 102 it says, and student 101 it says. So each object has a unique and separate copy of the data member and member function. So tomorrow if you create 50 objects of a particular class, 50 times memory gets allocated to the data members and member functions of a class. It's good to have because each student will have their own specific details, but there are some common attributes which can be shared all together. We'll talk about that in upcoming session. I hope the concept is more clear to you now. Until next time, stay tuned. Thank you.